Good evening.
Can we check from here?
Yes, Bob, can you hear?
Yes.
Good.
We can hear.
Are you alone?
Yes.
There's Dorothy, I think.
Oh, Dorothy. Hello, Dorothy. Good evening to you all. Mike Johnston speaking, chair of the committee. To my right, Sharon and Carol,
Martin Westport,
and Roger Whitfield.
and can you? Okay. Jill, you're here in representing 33 Beach Road West, and you're expecting a couple of others in a moment.
Yes, I think there's a next slide. Oh, they're here actually. Just, yes.
Okay.
We are in.
Apologies for absence, Sharon.
Okay, we've got apologies from Councillors Snowdon, Blackmore, Aldridge and Cartwright.
Must be the August holiday period.
So you're going to vote to accept those and approve those apologies?
Yes, we'll have to. Yes.
Well,
Proposer. Seconder. Yeah, we're all in favour. Good evening. Hello. Yes. Declaration of interests. I have none.
I've done it before and been ignored, so I'm just not used to
No, I've got no interest.
Roger.
And none that I'm aware of.
None that I know of.
Okay, thank you. To receive the chairman's report, number 4 on the agenda. The Portishead plan, the referendum took place on the 20th of July, Thursday. The PAN passed in favour 2,630 and 366 against it. So as it exceeded the 50%, it passed through, and it will now go to North Somerset Council on the 19th of September in order for it to be formally initiated. For 2, pedestrian crossing on Harbour Road between Kestrel Court and the footpath to Sainsbury's. This is the yellow gravelly path, which is well used, and it's unfortunately, North Somerset doesn't seem to feel that it triggered the recommendation for crossing, which disappoints me because I cross there from time to time. Another pedestrian crossing over Phoenix Way to Tansey Lane. That also was assessed by North Somerset Highways, and again, it did not trigger the sufficient reasoning for this installing a crossing. A consultation with residents on Brampton Way for highways improvement proposals. An update by perhaps Roger?
Yes, this was down to myself and Councillor Aldridge to arrange a meeting and come back with some proposals. We haven't had an opportunity to arrange a meeting and come back with proposals. So unfortunately, I think we need to push that one forward to the next meeting.
Okay, but I've seen a sort of general outline for it, and it looks like it's a good proposal. You're planning to?
Yeah, I think
residents.
I think we've had we've had some work done on it, but we haven't had a meeting to come to an agreement on it.
Okay. 4-5, temporary closure of Worthington's Walk, 3-day closure from the 9th to the 11th of October for essential sewer repairs. So there we go. Because yes, the side of M&Co keeps flooding. 4-6, Parish Councils Airport Association, the next meeting being held by Zoom on Thursday the 12th of October, and that will presumably have a representative, Paul Churchill, and he will doubtless feedback information regarding that meeting. 4-7, planning application at 72 Eastcliff, 1179. An update, this application was returned and no consultation took place. The applicant is expected to resubmit at a later stage. 4-8, TPO in Hallett's Way, we've just received information about that. Okay, moving on, public participation. Now you're both here to talk about 33 Beach Road West. I'm going to limit you about 5 minutes per speech. We have obviously seen your consultation and documentation regarding this planning application, which is extremely detailed. And so if you could summarise that, we'd be very grateful.
Which one?
Well,
latest one.
there's another one, isn't it? So yes, speak on the latest one so that you can.
Okay, well, with regard to the previous one, I think fabulous work by Tim and Roger, I think, and the team. So they have pulled back from the boundary and they put like a slanted side to it. So I think we're happy now in terms of overbearing and just general sort of like bulk.
Yes, I think on Jill's side on half a metre from both neighbouring houses or neighbouring boundaries anyway.
There's still a but.
Sorry?
There's still a but.
The bot is
There's a
coming.
but, yes. No, it's all related to overlooking issues. So one's a city one. It's the side windows, which are both bathrooms
On the top floor.
on the top floor. They were obscured, and now they're not. So obviously one's looking a bit down our garden, and the other one's looking possibly into your Velluxes, I guess, because it's higher up. So it's just a request for them to go back to being obscured. And then the other one is relating to the. Oh yeah. So the second issue is relating to the top floor balcony. We'd like to just reiterate our request that it stays as a bedroom. So it's a bedroom balcony, rather than be allowed to be turned into a separate apartment where then it's a living room and quite regular use. Yeah. Because it was, a viewing platform like there was turned down in the past. Possibly if it's going to be allowed, then at least if it's just a bedroom, we just like to request that as a condition. And then the other issue is the fact that they've raised all floor levels have come up 0.36, but instead of saying, hey, it's before the second floor was like 1.1 high, they're now saying it's 1.1 high, but the reference is there, not on the floor. So they kind of, instead of changing the number to say, hey, it's now 1.5 meters high, they're keeping it at 1.1 and just changing the.
They've
Changing the
somehow
reference.
disguised a change in reference level for some of the measurements that they've used. So instead of using 0, they've moved everything up 36 centimetres, and then so for some of the measurements, the reference level from the top to the bottom, the reference level is actually off the ground rather than using the pavement, which is what you would generally speaking use if you were doing measurements. You'd do it from a fixed point that was not part of the site, so that when you demolished the house, the fixed point would still be the fixed point.
So do any of these measurements tie up with the previous plans? In other words, have they left something in from the old plan potentially by accident,
No.
or is this a new addition on this iteration of the plan?
It's new. For 2 years they've been saying that's 0 and that's the roof, and because they've changed that drawing to say this is 20
metres above sea level.
6 meters above sea level, and that's 27.69, 26.44, I think.
Yeah.
So they've changed that diagram, and they've changed instead of ground level, they changed to sea level. But all the figures that were related to ground level, like each floor height, they basically just kept the same values, but just changed the reference. And it disguises the fact that all the floors are all 36 now, 36 centimeters higher than they were before. And that just means that, from our perspective, the fence level was 1.25, which wasn't great, but now it's like 0.9 meter. So you've got this like big, wide patio door, waterfall glass, just looking, and the fence on our side is 0.9, but it's still labelled at 1.25. The difference.
They've not changed the measurements on the fence, but they've moved the house up.
They moved the house up. They haven't changed their values.
Because previously they'd moved the house down into the ground further.
Well, the floors had, but the absolute top hadn't. There was almost like this additional 41 centimetres of void. Actually, what they've done is said, no, we only need 5 centimetres of stuff, and move the entire thing back up.
Which makes the front look better. So where before
Yeah,
the
the front
front
looks better.
was very slopey and the front door had disappeared right off the street
Yeah.
view and the windows were all disappeared down.
Yeah.
Now if you look at the street view picture,
Yeah,
the
you-
door and the windows have miraculously come up.
again.
And the little chappie who's standing on the road, the height of 1.
Yeah,
Two meters.
1.1 metres, which is the second floor height.
Used to be
Used to be
width.
there, and now it's 1.1 there, and effectively the zero reference is there. It's just come off the floor. 36.
Yeah, so
And how much of a problem is this?
Well,
it's a problem from the overlooking at the back because
Okay.
we now think that they could see over the top of the fence.
Can the fence go up as well?
The fences are
no. In effect, the fence has stayed the same. They've come up, but they haven't said that difference has become less.
And
They're
the
still
fence-
saying it's
if the
1.5.
fence did go up, the fence would be awfully tall on our side of the building.
Yeah.
In our garden, it's already much taller than a standard fence would be, and that was allowed
Yeah.
back in the day when Mike was living there.
But when they went down, it was a lot better. It was about 1.25, and they're about 3 meters away. But now effectively they've gone up, and therefore the fence is now 0.9 meters above their floor. It's just clear views, looking sideways.
So from your perspective, would it be better if they dropped down to the previous level?
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look as nice from the front, but we'd certainly prefer it
Lower
at
at the back.
lower at the back, really. Because where they were before, it was looking okay that we could tweak the fences up, possibly a bit, and you could just about get up to about sort of.
And okay, so any others after that one, or is that where we're?
I think.
Uh,
Yeah, the only other one we were concerned about was the where they've stepped in.
Oh yes.
3 floors.
I
that stepped
noticed
in.
that they didn't step in the
The
basement.
basement, so that means they're going to go up, and then they're going to have RSJs half a metre in, taking the weight of 3 stories, which
Seems
seems
a bit strange. They've
seems
not
quite
got the
odd.
walls all the way straight up.
Yeah.
They've just got the walls right out to our boundary-ish on the lower ground floor, yeah. And then they're stepping in the rest of it, which means that
which is fine.
it won't be built
Which is
on
fine
the
if they want to do that.
foundations
Yeah.
that
Is
are on that.
Is it likely they're going to create a block and beam slab at the base for the basement on which then they'll build the house?
Well, they've got to go up, and then they're coming in to their own space, and so
Yeah.
they've almost got to
They're
build
only
above
coming in
something.
like half a metre, aren't
It's only half a metre, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe the architect did all of the ones and forgot to do that one. I think
Yeah.
we should raise that as, is this
It just
actually
looks-
I mean,
correct?
it's not a problem from our point of view. We're just scared that they're going to build the first wall, and the builders are going to carry on going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then go,
And then they go,
"Oh."
oh, sorry, it's too late to change it now. kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we can raise that anyway and see if it
It
is
just-
just an issue, or if that's actually what they're planning to do.
Yeah, I mean, there are just some of these things that are just a little bit, like when we've been through all of this over this.
All the way through, there's always been issues with the plan. So yeah.
Yeah, you can see where we were a little bit suspicious now and then.
and some of them may well have been genuine mistakes. You just don't know.
So things are moving in the right direction
Yes.
Yes.
for you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. As far as the bulk and the overbearingness,
Yeah.
we're happy.
But you still feel that
That's
there are
amazing.
irregularities kicking around within the
Yeah, this is
design brief and the
this-
drawings and
no,
things.
a couple of overlooking things, really. And yeah, definitely a massive step in the right direction. Yeah.
Okay.
So if those 4 items were resolved, then that would be end of objection, I guess.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, with the caveat about the digging all the way down, which we know isn't a planning
Unfortunately,
issue.
not planning.
And
That's
that's still
building
terrifying.
control. I know.
We're
Building
trying-
control.
We're trying to sort of think, okay, if there was any risk to the properties outside, it wouldn't be allowed to happen. When it goes to like these experts, the third-party wall experts, if there is a problem, they won't let it happen. So
We can't even consider that one here,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No,
Yeah, we put it in our latest
But yeah,
comment because we just wanted it to be there.
You can get that in when the third-party wall agreement's drawn up.
Yeah.
So, but that's a whole different thing down the road on that.
The only other thing, I mean, yeah, thanks also to you from us and Catherine for all that sort of detailed work on it. The only thing to add is, which we put in our last objection, with the green roof, we would like to see some kind of condition if the planning permission is granted that it won't ever be
You've
used.
got barrier now.
Well, it's got a barrier on the patio doors, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, theoretically,
Green roof on
Just
the
that it
rear
won't
extension.
at some stage.
rear
become a
basement
permanent
extension.
terrace.
I mean, it's still going to be a big temptation.
I would suspect it would
I suppose
be.
they've got to jump over.
No, but
barrier like that.
they might put in a modification of the planning after the planning is passed,
Okay.
a minor amendment or whatever they're called, to suddenly create the balcony and go, oh, we're like a balcony now.
Well, this happened on a development on Woodlands Road, yeah. The green roof disappeared and an ordinary roof came in its place. So I'm not sure it's necessarily being used as a balcony, but
I still think the green roof thing is a little bit, but anyway.
I suppose it's the same issue. It's ultimately after we've got a fence that will now be 0.9 metres high, about that high.
Yeah, so if you stood on it, it would only be not knee high.
Yeah.
So obviously, if they can stand on it, they can.
So, but all we're looking for there is a condition that it's not used as a
On that subject,
Yeah, just to close the door on any minor amendments that they try and make in the future.
We're just concerned about the height of it, effectively patio door height, effectively.
Just the discrepancy.
Chairman, could we just ask the ladies and gentlemen to give their names for the tape? So obviously anybody who's listening in
yes,
don't know who's been talking.
yes. Forgive me, I didn't ask.
Okay, Nick Joyce.
Catherine Joyce.
And Jill Gummel.
Jill, did you have anything else to add?
Really, I mean,
Sure.
it's definitely gone in the right direction. We still think it's too big, but.
Thank you. Okay. This, I think, the first one on the agenda anyway to be discussed. Yes, it is. So do feel free to leave after you've done so. Which is now really, yeah. Oh no, and I've got the minutes to.
Sorry, Chairman, did you just want to see if anybody online wanted to talk in public?
Oh yes, of course. I forgot about that. Is there anyone online which is to
I would like
address?
to ask a couple of questions, if that's all right. Dorothy,
Yes,
you go first.
Right, I just wanted to say from a public point of view, I still think they're trying to shove a court into a point pot. And I don't think it's going to look very beautiful from the road. And I think once the stone wall has been removed and you've got cars parked there, etc., it isn't going to look very lovely. I'm also, again, this is obviously because the neighbours living either side have obviously explained in great detail what could happen. But I don't know how it would be able to, over the years, keep those conditions in place. Things will change, people will change, different people come to live there. I don't know how you would actually ensure that those policies that are being, or conditions that are being requested would actually be able to be enforced over the years.
Can Dorothy give us her name, please?
It's Ward. Dorothy, your surname for the tape.
Oh, Dorothy Ward.
And it's 3003 Beach Road she's talking about, yeah? Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. I put into community matters, but I'm not sure it should have gone there, whether it should be in planning. The question of the parking on the lake grounds. It would seem to me that it is now a mobile dormobile sort of parking area. Is there nothing that could be done either by us or by North Somerset, Roger, in terms of putting in, no overnight parking signs? I mean, there's about 13 vans there now constantly. One's been there for 2 weeks, and obviously it's their holiday site.
Point noted. Yes, I think this is a concern of a number of people.
I can't see without my glasses on. Yeah, so we need to get that one across to the Lake Grounds Management Committee for them to have a look at.
Yes,
I think
yes.
we can sit on that anyway.
I
don't we?
do, yeah.
It has been raised down at North Somerset. I think there was signage which has mysteriously disappeared. We've discussed whether or not it's advantageous to put signage up, but at the moment there's no real enforcement for the signage anyway, so that would be an issue as well. It really is one for much wider consideration, I think. So the Lake Grounds Management Committee is the best place.
Yes, I think so, definitely. And do we know when the next?
No, I haven't got a date for it yet.
No.
It was briefly touched on, wasn't it, at the last
It was,
management committee
yeah.
meeting? Briefly touched on. So the North Somerset Council and town councillors are aware of it, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was noted that in fact Portishead's listed in some directory, isn't it, for overnight parking?
Yeah, that seems to be what's increased the numbers, I think.
Yeah. Which is worrying, as you rightly point out.
Well, I think the other thing is, as the events go on in the summer there, it takes away a considerable amount of parking, because you can't park cars opposite because the vans are obviously bigger, and that would make the road almost unusable. It seems to me that that's not the intention of that road, and something should be done about it. Okay, the other question I have, which is perhaps not quite so polite, there seems to be a acquisition, or acquiescence rather, of the A369 bus lane work. I'm just wondering what the council are going to do in terms of an official position on that when it comes to consultation, if we know when that is.
A369 bus lane work, so Markham Road and potentially the Portbury 100 is what we're talking about. Surprisingly enough, I got an email from Mike Bell tonight saying that we are soon to have another meeting on this. I'm not sure if you know, Bob, that the whole thing was pushed off until January, February next year. So it's been delayed whilst the officers go away and see if they can come back with something that actually supports their argument. And we're looking at everything going on, but I don't think we're going to get a meeting on this till September because everyone's on holiday.
Okay, well, at least it sounds as though someone has raised objection.
It's definitely in progress. Yeah, we had a meeting about this in June, which is when everything was stopped. I think I reported it to the last town council meeting.
And is that just in relation to Markham and the A369 at
It's just
Portbury 100?
just the two that are going to affect Portishead, yes.
Okay.
Everyone else can find their own corner.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, well, we move on then to accept the minutes from, we'll be discussing the planning application
Oh,
now.
right. Okay, we went through when we were going to get, we don't want to go full round time.
No. The minutes of the last meeting, which was chaired by you, Martin. Do we consider the minutes to be a good representation of that meeting, which I was absent from? Yeah, proposer. Thank you. And the seconder, Roger. And those in favour, sign them off wherever they are. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the planning applications under item 7, I think. Starting off with 33 Beach Road. Okay, 3003. We have had this one around for a very long time. Comments were made in May on the grounds that there was an objection on a number of things which have been partially addressed, as we've heard this evening, and in the update from the minutes from the submission on the 28th of this last month, July. So I think we've discussed this a bit. We understand that the case officer is now meeting with Tim Snaden, who's away on holiday at the moment. Roger, you've given us a bit of an update in part of the discussion you've already had. Do we want to add to that? We feel that there are still some inconsistencies with the plans, and that with perhaps inaccuracies. I think we're minded to sort of think that the developer will go back and make these further tweaks, which you're sort of suggesting that are relatively minor in some respects. and that we would then perhaps have it presented to us in a month's time with further amendments having been made.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy at this stage, I think, after hearing from the neighbours either side on this, to propose that we accept subject to, and then we list the items, the 5 items that we did. I think it would be good to point out to North Somerset that we're not just here to object, but actually things are moving in the right direction, which would be good to say we accept this subject to the 5 different reasons, which hopefully Sharon wrote down earlier.
No.
No, I've got them.
If you just summarise them.
We'll
We need
go
to
through and
summarise them
do
for the
that.
tape,
Yeah.
and then okay.
So if that's the feeling, then I can summarise them. Okay.
Yeah.
Please do.
So the first one was the side windows for the 2 bathrooms are no longer specified as obscured glass. So that is very minor, but yeah, I think
Preference is obviously to
their
have them
bathrooms,
back.
it would be a good idea to have obscured glass anyway. Yes.
From both sides, quite a bit of
Yeah, I'm not sure that would be a major issue anyway. So yes, that's the first one. The second one, we'd like to see a restriction on the top floor balcony only to be, or the room adjoining the top floor balcony only to be used as a bedroom and not to be converted to a lounge, because of the potential overlooking issues
And use of said balcony.
increasing massively if it becomes a lounge rather than a bedroom. You know what? I have no idea what planning will make of it, but I think we need to put it in anyway. Yeah. The third one is there's confusion still over the reference levels and floor levels on the plan. The additional height that seems to be been reintroduced in the latest plan is creating an overlooking issue, and we would ask that they return to the previous slightly lower level.
Can I just say something here? Because there were 2 previous levels. There was basically 3 levels. There's about 6.6, 6.8, where it was lined up with the existing property, and then 7. Even if it went to the middle one, I think that would.
So what was preference? So I can put them in at that.
To what, drop the
What was the height?
level
It
to the
wasn't clear what
previous?
the previous one was. There were potentially 3 levels. There's now only 2 levels, which is like the lowest one and the highest one. And the highest one they've chosen, but they've kind of still claimed it's the lowest one.
So what's the word that we can put on it?
Datum level, I think we need to talk about that. Yeah.
Right.
I'd be happy if we just take the middle one, to be honest with you, because if you go all the way down, then it does look worse at the front.
What is the middle level?
Yeah. What is the level
Well,
then?
it was the same height as the highest point of the existing building, which was 6835.
So are we looking to drop the floor levels?
Potentially, you could just drop the floor levels.
By
It's only about 20 centimetres, I think.
drop each floor.
I mean, the difference is 35 centimetres, I guess, isn't it?
So drop
about
drop each floor by approximately 20 centimetres.
Yeah.
There you go.
That would be the middle figure they had before.
Yeah. Is that?
Because you get to the point where if you drop too much, it does start
20
looking bad at the
centimetres.
front.
Each floor by 20 centimetres.
Each level I put.
Yeah.
Each level.
To
By 20 centimetres.
return to the previous level. If you put those both things in, I think they'll try and pick the bones out
Yeah.
of that.
We'll read it back in a minute.
Yeah, so number 4, we note that the basement level is wider than the rest of the house by 0.5 metres. Is this a mistake?
0.5 metres on either side.
On either side, yeah. Is this a mistake?
0.5 metres, yeah?
Yeah. Half a metre on either side. Because that would mean that you'd build a basement and then you build the house in on top of it, which just seems weird. I guess really we'd just like to know if that's correct. And we'd like to ask for a condition on the green roof that it's not to be used as a terrace.
Mhm.
And then I assume if they apply to use it as a terrace at some point in the future, the planners will see that there's a condition on there and have to revisit that at that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Good.
Okay.
Is that covering?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Do you want me to read through that again?
Go for
Make
it.
sure we've got it right, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So side windows for the 2 bathrooms are no longer specified as obscured glass. Restrictions on top floor balcony adjoining room to only be used as a bedroom. Confusion on reference stroke levels on the floor plans. Latest plan is creating an overlooking issue. Asked to return to previous lower level and reduce each level by 20 centimetres.
Yep.
Yeah. Basement level is wider than the rest of the building by 0.5 metres either side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And condition placed on the green roof that is not to be used as a terrace.
Yes.
Do we know what's happening to the basement? I mean, is the actual section where the basement's being created going to get covered? Is it going to become a garden or something? Are they going to tank it and then cover it? Or
I don't know. I should tank it and cover it. Like I say, the weird thing is that to come in and go the full length of the building does imply like RSJs all the way along it, and that's got to support 3 stories above. It just seems odd. So
Well,
It might be better for us if it was half a
I'll say,
metre.
are you bothered if the whole thing collapses?
I don't. We don't
No, I just don't want
we
our house
mind.
to fall into the same hole.
Our concern is just that they build the bottom wall and then keep going at that and forget to go in.
yes, we understand. Yeah.
So it's just to make sure if that is their intention, it seems a bit daft, but if that is their intention, can it be like labelled, quite clearly obvious to a builder to actually you can only go one story and then he's got to cut in and carry on the rest.
Yeah. No, it's justified comment.
Yeah. We're not objecting to that basement being still out. Just to make sure that they don't.
We're just asking for some clarity on the plan as to whether or not they've actually done it by mistake and left something in, or if they purposely wanted it built that way.
Yeah, and make sure it's highlighted also.
Yeah, I mean, watching the building opposite our house, which is the Alliance block on West Hill, it was all done floor by floor. They just brought in a crane, block and beam, and then built the next level. So it's rose that way.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess
making a proposal.
I've proposed that.
Yeah. Have you got a second?
Can we just emphasise the fact that the change they have, bringing it in and putting that slanty roof on, is it's a game changer for us. It's all the stuff we've talked. Some of you have been in our back garden and looked up. It looks totally different. It's massively better. So
well, let's hope that
we'll get Tim to convey that when he's down North Somerset Planning when this one comes up down there.
Yeah. Just to say thanks for that, because that is a big thing for us. Yeah.
Well, let's hope the developer gets knowledge of these other tweaks that we would like to see.
Yes,
Hopefully it's just tweaks, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Need to vote, Jen.
Yes. So you've been seconding it.
Yes.
Carol, are you in favour of this
Yeah.
proposal? Okay. Right, fine.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.
You can go back and enjoy your evening now.
Thank you so much,
Okay. Well, yeah, that's progress, I guess.
I must say, when I saw the plans yesterday, and when I realised that they put new plans in on the 28th, I only saw them yesterday, I looked at the plans and I was astounded that they'd actually made so many of the changes that have been asked for. It's really good to see, the people's representations being listened to, because we always hear that people they say stuff and everyone ignores them, and here's a good example of people not being ignored and the planning system working the way that it should.
And it's such a sensitive site, isn't it? So, right, okay, so moving on, 1253, 87 Hillside Road. Another drawing came forward quite recently, didn't it, in relation to this? I didn't, to be honest, see much change from the previous one. Did anyone else?
Yeah, no, I couldn't
Roger,
see the difference.
I understand you've made a comment in relation to the policy PWH2.
Yeah, I think this is it's a sizable extension to a 2-bedroom house.
But they're keeping it on one level, though, aren't they?
But is that not allowing properties to be extended to become bigger and therefore losing the lower end of the market out of Portishead? Because once your 2-bed house becomes 3, 4, 5 bedrooms, you never get that property back
Price it out of the market.
without
surely we-
building new ones somewhere else.
But are we dealing with this subject all the time, with people putting extensions onto their houses, irrespective of the size of the single, double story?
Yes.
It's going on all the time.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that part of the Portishead neighbourhood plan was to try and place some form of restriction on that to stop every house in Portishead becoming a really big house and us losing all the low end stuff. The question is, where do we pull that and say? And this one, I mean, I think it's borderline. I'm not sure. I don't think they're proposing extra bedrooms. It's different rooms, isn't it?
Yeah, the footprint of the house is not hugely different from its current.
I flagged it because we've got a new neighbourhood plan, and we should at least consider it.
On the other hand, if people can't afford to move to other properties, then they're going to want to improve and make the ones they're in more livable. So that's the other side of that coin, isn't it? It's really developers coming in and buying properties and then massively extending them and extending their value is the bit that I'm more concerned about.
But as we know, as the plan sets forward policies which are to be given certain weights, if we say we've got no objection, as long as they take the neighbourhood plan into account, and if they take it into account and they decide that in this case there's not much weight assigned to that, then I'd be quite happy with that outcome as well.
Well, I think that's now noted. So I'm
discussed it, yeah.
I'm minded to approve this. I don't have any objection to it.
So
No,
are
well,
you
I didn't, to
taking
be
no
honest.
objection then, Mike?
Yes.
No, I
Seconded.
Carol?
Anyone? Yeah. Carol?
Yeah,
In favour?
in favour, yeah.
Okay. Good. Right. 1263 Petersfield. Over the road. Within the conservation area.
Yeah.
I inadvertently probably thought that Churchill had already bought the site, was seeking full planning application on it. It's probably not the case, as I understand, and they're probably going to try to get planning consent before deciding to buy the site and do the works. Yes, it's straight off their tableau. It's probably the same as Churchill homes all over the country.
Yeah.
And do I find it boring? Well,
Yes.
yes, a bit. It's a bit dull, particularly for the conservation area. However, it's not very different from Rectory Gardens next door. And of course, the other side is Clarence House, which isn't very exciting. So I don't particularly have an objection to this. I mean, Adlington House is identical, and so is the Churchill and St. Peter's side.
Is this still another parking problem?
Well, is it a problem?
I don't know.
I mean, if you read their report in relation to the number of parking spaces that are allocated in most of these homes, where the average age is 80, they don't have cars. And so that gives quite a large breakdown of the statistical
The only issue
around the
is
country.
how many flipping retirement flats do we need in Portishead?
Well, yes, there is that.
And
There
I
is
mean,
that.
as many as there are retired people wishing to downsize is the answer to that.
Which frees up properties, doesn't it, elsewhere in the town, perhaps, but
Is it?
and Portishead is regarded as being an ideal place for people to come and retire
I
to.
think we have to bear in mind that we have an ageing population. We have a housing crisis where young people can't get houses, and older people are maybe stuck in large houses that they can't deal with through lack of suitable accommodation for them to move into. And this provides some of the suitable accommodation for them to move into, so their house could be bought by a family, so the previous house could be bought by a new family or a couple or something like that, and the whole property thing moves rather than stagnating because they're stuck in their property. So I can see the need for it, and ain't none of us getting any younger, so we might all need these things at some time. The fact we don't need them now doesn't mean to say that there aren't people out there that do need them.
But I mean, the issue of affordable houses for younger people is still an issue, though.
Oh, of course, it's bound to be, isn't it? Yes,
Has anybody-
particularly in Portishead, where we
Yeah.
all know property prices
Has
are
anybody
high.
looked at what they've done in Knoll West? I've forgotten what it's called now. They're proposing to do factory-produced, I suppose, bed sets, really, at a very sensible price. That can go, if you've got kids that can't afford to move out, they could put it in their parents' garden, maybe, and little brown sites. Is that something we maybe ought to look at? I'm quite happy to go and get
Well,
one in.
I mean, if a developer came forward with those suggestions and demolished Petersfield and put those in its place, I'm sure the majority of us here would be saying, bring it on.
But that's not what we're being asked, unfortunately.
No,
in
it's
this
not.
case.
And we all know Churchill's a profitable
Yeah,
company
I know it's
dealing
not.
with the elderly.
So I had a look at the what was it? The Conservation and Heritage Officer's recommendations,
Oh, good.
which seem to be saying that they felt in their current form that this development actually does harm to the listed buildings around by not being in keeping.
Interesting.
So my take on this would be that we object on the grounds of the Conservation and Heritage Officer's report.
I'm glad you flagged it up.
And leave North Somerset to go and read the ins and outs of that report themselves when they're making their decision, because that makes it much more succinctly than I ever could.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think that's a good enough reason for
Yeah,
objecting then.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they might come forward with something that's a little bit more in keeping. I mean, we all know that this is artificial stone they're using,
Well,
and render it's extremely cheap to put, well, probably relatively to build. Isn't it? Fine, thank you very much, Roger. So objection then on those grounds.
Yeah, propose that.
Proposed,
Make it.
Martin, Carol, seconded, and we're all in favour of that.
There we go.
So Martin proposed that today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Roger. That's very helpful.
Precinct, Philip, next.
No, I just made a note here. Their average parking space per apartment is 0.28. Anyway, if you read their statistics, it comes up relatively okay. 1358 254 Down Road. I've been to the property. I didn't speak to the owners. They weren't there. But I don't particularly have an objection to what they're proposing to do to upgrade the front of the house and its side. The plans don't seem to indicate where the proposed swimming pool is going to go and what they're planning to do with the spoil, because I think one of the issues related to this and the objections online are that access to their rear garden is easy via St. Augustine's Close. And the residents there are naturally concerned about large vehicles and other machines and things coming in and out of the close. So there was a proposal in 22 to put a pair of houses in the field, in the garden, I beg your pardon, where there is access onto St. Augustine's Close with a pair of large gates. So it's a bit iffy as to whether the swimming pool does lend itself to being a bit of an issue. There are no other objections online in relation to the access off Down Road.
I had a look at the online comments on there, mainly from the people from St. Augustine's Close, I think it is, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yes.
And they're all listed as neutral, and they're all complaining about it. So it seems very strange to me that they're raising lots of issues about potential flooding from the swimming pool, making sure that the water's not going to access their properties, and the access of all the vehicles and everything. But they're all marked as neutral comments, not as complaints or against. So I thought that should probably be flagged up, that I didn't think they were correctly labelled on the North Somerset site.
Well, I presume a number of those residents were objecting probably in relation to the plan here for the 2 eco houses from last year on the same grounds, but that one seems to have disappeared into the ether. I can't see any. They must have withdrawn it.
I think the same issues that they had with the previous one, they still have with this
They
one.
do. They obviously
I mean,
do. Yeah.
it could be resolved if the developer put forward some form of access statement so that everyone knew what was going on.
I think that would be a good idea.
Okay. So let's possibly write this. Taking into account the confined area of the local highway network, as in St. Augustine's Place, and the very narrow drive which shares 2 properties, and the volume of material that may need to be removed and brought to site, the Highways Authority would request that a site-appropriate level construction management statement is submitted to the Highway Authority for approval prior to the commencement of works on site. This should also include details of site deliveries and storage of materials, managing any complaints arising from the works, maintaining access and to the neighbouring properties, communications to neighbouring properties before construction, car parking for operatives and visitors to the site, the time of site operation, and highway safety measures such as wheel washing facilities to prevent mud and detritus entering the highway. So I think that could be a condition stipulated in relation to any works that go on at this particular property. I mean, there are only half a dozen or so properties in St. Augustine's Close, so you can understand their concerns.
Oh, certainly.
And I remember them doing the last planning, and they all turned up here for the last planning one, and it's extremely tight round there. They were talking about these large vehicles coming within a few inches of their houses on tight corners, and I could see where their concerns were.
Totally, because the gap between these 2 houses, dwellings, is pretty narrow, and there was a car park there, which I assume belonged to one of the 2 residents there. It's extremely narrow, yeah. So we're minded to say that?
Yes, I think so.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be fine.
But subject to that, approve the rest of the works?
I think so.
Yeah.
So you're just going to put an objection through on that basis? That you would need to provide that.
Do you think we could object and say on the grounds that we don't have the highways report or an access statement or whatever they call it?
I think so.
And nothing specifically having been mentioned on the plans in relation to the swimming pool. It's siting, it's construction details, and whatnot. Yeah.
I think that's totally
I'm just going to pass that around.
Whether they're going to pull the plug out and flood the neighbours or something.
So that's the original precinct.
Beautiful thing of beauty, isn't it?
Well, that's a subjective opinion.
We have a proposer and a seconder and a vote on that one.
Oh, yes.
We quite like 70s brutally.
Shall I propose?
Yeah,
Seconder, please. Yeah, I'll second that.
Mike seconded.
So
seconded.
this is
We're
further
agreeing.
down the
We
road.
agree.
All agree, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll see
Thank
that.
you.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Although I have seen it before, we'll just have a look.
I brought it down because I'm objecting to this. The fenestration changes in the precinct, which would change that to that. I just don't feel are
No, I agree. Yeah.
agreeable, because it will change the nature of the precinct and its architectural style. Love it or hate it, sort of thing. And whilst I accept that,
It's needed, yeah.
whilst I accept that Prime Minister Johnson, was sort of trying to accelerate the amount of retail being changed into a private accommodation, which is clearly what this is.
Yeah.
I think it's in this instance not suitable unless they use the existing fenestration. That's my view.
And mine.
And
We have to say.
can somebody explain to me what fenestration is?
Window, the style of the windows.
I do. It's one of those words that I was never sure about, so I thought I'd ask. So which one have we got here? That's proposed.
That's proposed, yeah.
So
So is it affecting the scene then?
currently they've got
It's affecting the ambience of the precinct and
It's the
the style of the architecture.
That's never something I've heard anybody mention before. It's the precinct having ambience. And ambience.
And architecture, would you agree?
Architectural significance of the precinct.
so
Two phrases I'd have
So
never
are
thought
we-
I'd have heard.
are we asking for the windows or fenestration to be more in keeping
Yes.
with what's
Well,
already in
no.
now?
Well, my view would be that they either use the existing windows, which are very thin slit ones, and get round it that way, or not do what they're proposing to do.
Yeah, 'cause there's very few windows actually on there, and there's 3 windows, isn't there, which are like that wide.
Yes.
So yeah, I can see.
But LCP will probably just steamroll the
Well,
works
you
through
could,
anyway.
you could put in windows of the same size, but in the gaps in between, and it would still look similar to the hall on the other side and the windows on that.
If they did something like that, then we would
Are you
review
happy with
it.
that?
So
We would review it.
so we'd want the windows to be more in keeping then.
Well, that's wording it in a way that we're agreeing to the agreeing to
Yeah.
the application. No, I think we'll stick with what we got, but let them
So
perhaps come back.
so on the grounds that they're not in that the changes are not in keeping with the
Style,
The style.
architectural merits of the precinct, which is dated, but
Well,
still has.
Still has merit regardless of
Thank you. Yes, it does.
Yep. So if that's
I'm proposing that.
if that's
I'm going to second it.
if that's
Thank
the
you.
objection, then I'm quite happy with the objection worded that way.
Carried again.
Yeah.
Thank you. 1451, 51 Wood Hill Road. My feelings here are more or less the same, that we are within the conservation area here. They're proposing to remove a section of the front wall, change their garden layout into a car park. Bear in mind that all the properties generally on Wood Hill Road have access at the back and
have.
car parking facilities
Yeah,
at the back,
they
whether
do.
it's a garage or off-road or whatever. And if you walk up Wood Hill Road, which of course we all know is a very attractive street, yes, 1 or 2 of them have already been changed into car parks over the years, but most of them have gardens. And I just feel it's a feature of the conservation area and of Wood Hill and Adelaide Terrace. So I don't want to see this happen. I mean, the only one thing they've not said in the planning application is whether this is to hook up an electric car for charging. And of course, if it was, and they
Change
had
things.
stated that, it would be a bit of a different argument, because then you can't obviously have electric cables dangling across the pavement. So under the circumstances that hasn't been mentioned, this is just to get 2 cars off the property, off the road rather, and no one will be able to park in front of them anyway.
No.
So they're 2 vehicles if
Well,
they
that's
are
right,
leaving
good
there,
point, yeah.
because they'll probably put a drop curb in. I object to it.
And I agree with that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering why everyone was objecting, because everyone put object, but nobody put anything in the notes as to what the objection was. Because I mean,
You'll get around to it, Ross,
yeah,
that's right.
no, I know on the opposite side of the road, a number of properties have driveways
Yeah, of course I do.
and off-street
Yeah.
parking, and I thought off-street parking was a sort of an advantageous
Interesting
thing,
to
so
do.
I didn't see any reason to object to it.
Well, I don't disagree that residents further on up the road, Wood Hill, Pier Road, Woodlands Road, Pier Road, etc., they get kind of caught up in all the traffic flow.
You may
but-
find that this is actually a precursor. You pop the parking in at street level at the front, emptying the garage area to then be converted into a new house and sold off down the bottom. But that's not what's on the plan, so we won't even mention that.
And can you imagine if everyone on Wood Hill did this? That would be just a sea of cars in front of all these nice listed houses.
Well, I think
No.
every time you do this, there's an environmental issue, isn't there?
Oh, that as well, yeah.
Because you
Messes up the drainage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Causes
All of that stuff.
No,
So
nice-
that was
nice-
my angle.
Nice
Sorry.
flora.
Yeah,
All goes.
I'm torn. I don't really know on this one. I mean, I think yes, I like the idea that they're going to get some off-street parking.
For whose benefit?
But then I fully take on board your issue that it's a
Garden
slippery
side.
slope to changing the nature of a conservation area.
Hmm.
Plus,
Um,
the back gardens are a really important resource for your local wildlife.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that as well,
It
Carol.
is
Yeah.
environment,
Yeah.
That was my
so,
thing. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no, it's a difficult one. I don't know is the answer on that one. I will go with the flow.
Well,
So I've currently got a proposal from Mike to object, as it's within a conservation area and the loss of a garden would be out of keeping with the street scene. Is that what you're tabling?
yes. Whether we add to that the parking facilities we know are available at the back of the property, I don't know. I mean, it's
Well,
not.
I think that's the
necessarily-
thing about it. They do have that. They could do it at the back, couldn't they?
As some of them do.
So I think it probably makes sense to mention that the property does already have off-street parking to the rear. That, if anything, that adds to your argument. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, seconder on that one, please. Carol. All those in favour? Okay, unanimous again.
Yep. I went
Thank
with the
you.
flow.
Right, well, the Mirage is really just observation. We all know that the work's going on there to reclad the building. It's going to take a long time, about a year and a half. And in due course, the whole building will get shrouded in scaffold.
Yeah.
And so they'll all lose their views and light. But they're not paying anything.
Is this
all
part of the
government
cladding scandal that went on some years back?
exactly.
And we've seen
you
other
can't
other
fry the
properties.
people in the mirage.
Yeah, well, we've seen it down at number 21 or whatever it is further down, haven't
Yes,
we?
yes.
Where
absolutely.
they just finished having it all done.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's about time. I think that it was got on with on more properties.
Absolutely.
It's apparently not going to affect the external
Oh, it's all the same. apparently.
view of the building. It won't change.
So no
Do-
objection to that?
No,
is there?
No objection. Do we have to vote on it?
Yeah.
Oh, we do. Okay,
Yeah,
well, I
sorry.
propose again that.
So
no
you're
objection.
proposing, Mike, you seconding?
I'll second,
Roger?
yeah.
Yeah, all in favour, yes. 78 Down Road, this Down House, demolition of existing garage and erection of a single-storey rear extension, 1511. I don't object to this. I think it's perfectly
like-
acceptable.
Couldn't see it affected anything really.
No, no.
I think there's others along that road who've done the same as well.
Yeah.
No reason to object to this.
It's quite a nice sort of planned extension here. The properties having.
No objection to that then.
Okay, good.
So who's seconding that then?
Oh well.
Roger?
Yeah.
And then,
Carol's, yes, you.
yeah,
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
There we go.
276 Down Road, 1514. Proposed erection of a single-storey detached garage to the east elevation in the garden. Yes, a sad loss of garden, I can't deny.
No.
I spoke to the neighbour yesterday. They have no objection to it. It's about the height of the hedge that's already there, so it's not going to affect any light in their property. So I don't object to it.
Yeah, no
no,
objections.
proposing, no
Yeah.
objection, Mike?
No.
Roger seconding?
Second, yeah.
Yeah, we'll-
And then, vote?
Agreed.
Yes, agreed. Okay, we've had some late ones in, which have come in 1550. 36 Lindsay Close, demolition of existing front porch and proposed erection of an enlarged front porch extension. I think this goes right across virtually the front of the house. In some respects, my personal view is that it will improve the look of the house. I have no objection to this.
Not me either. No.
Yeah, no, it seems perfectly reasonable.
Proposer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Roger?
Propose seconding.
Okay.
Okay, all in favour, yes.
Should we just vote then, Carol?
Yeah.
A vote.
The next three are all TPOs.
Yep.
So we just note those.
Yeah.
Then we move on to the consultations under agenda item Oh no, we've got the 317 Knoll Road, 1611.
All right.
This is in relation to stormwater and a soakaway underneath their drive. There's a very interesting consultation document online from the guys that will put the unit in, and it all seems, very good.
Is this a discharge of condition one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we just really
Noted, I
noting
think.
that
Well, you
they
can
discharged
make
it.
a comment on it, or you just let it go, whatever you.
Yeah,
whatever you decide.
I didn't see anything
Okay.
wrong with it.
No, nor me.
No.
You can just put no objection.
No objection.
so-
You wish
Objection,
to.
yeah.
Who's proposing
Anyone?
that, sorry?
Oh, I'll propose it. I should second it.
There you go.
No objection.
We're all in favour.
All in favour? Okay.
So item number 9, consultations, proposed base station upgrade in the Hydrex training yard. Well, yes, another ugly upgrade on the radio mast that we're all using through our telephones. So, well, there we go.
It's in a suitable location. It's sort of
Yeah,
out
so
of the
you-
way, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's not
In
in
an
a
industrial site, I think that there's plenty of places we wouldn't want it. But
Quite so.
An industrial site, of course, which has got masses of potential down there. And it's just covered with machines, which could be an Avonmouth. Anyway, that's another matter.
let's not talk about potential. Otherwise, someone would be talking about flats.
Oh, God, yeah, they would.
So we,
Or bedsit units.
yeah.
Yes, all that.
Yeah.
We're minded to note this, and we have no objection to it.
None at all.
They're just asking for our comments. Yeah,
Are there any?
just that we have no objection.
Objection,
Yeah,
okay.
objection.
That's fine.
Who's seconding that? Roger.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And then, no?
Everyone voted.
Yeah,
Did you miss
well,
that?
yes, yes.
Should we do it again?
You didn't see our waving hands. no. So, moving on then to the temporary traffic regulation order of Sheepway. This is outside the thatched cottage, where I presume they want to replace a lead service pipe. I'm sure we don't have any comments to make, do we?
Not at all.
Die from
No
lead
objection, I'd
poisoning?
say.
And no objection has to be done, doesn't it?
Mm.
I was going to say it's actually in Portbury anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, we still got consulted on it. I
Mm.
think they
Yeah.
consult
Oh,
on
was
us
it?
sometimes because you might have to come through that way to
Mm.
get to a property in the tail end of Portland.
Yeah.
Well, I presume the X4 is going to have to be diverted again. Anyway, that's
So,
when it will happen in 4th of September, so a month. So,
who
yes.
seconded it, sorry?
Me?
I could do it.
No one else wants to.
And there was a vote on that?
We're all in favour.
Yes, we're all in favour. of
Yeah.
that.
Carol?
There you go.
So agenda item 10, which is planning applications not requiring consultation. So I'm just going to make note of the fact that 2 TPOs there again,
Yeah.
lime trees and sycamores.
Yeah.
And then the information only on 10.2, list of the recent applications.
Yep.
The item 11, correspondence received by the office. Do we have any correspondence?
No, only the minutes from that meeting. If anybody wanted to view them from the 15th of June.
No,
They're in the office. If anybody wanted
Yeah.
to read them.
Okay.
As noted then, thank you. Item 12, then later planning applications and consultations. And then we'll close the meeting by telling you that the next meeting's on the 6th of September.
Excellent.
Same place, same time.
Excellent. I'm going to cut everybody off now. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.